and see what they're starting.
Oh, yeah?
Really? You're going to register that? Sure. Hi, welcome. Yeah, we are supposed to be expecting 60 of us here, but looks like most of you guys actually got lost. So anyway, I have to start already. So welcome to TechInsights. All right. I'm Lee. You can call me Lee, or you can call me Daqing. My co-presenter is not here. All right. He was stuck in a meeting, Felix. All right. So I would like to welcome you guys with just a quick hint of why you guys are supposed to be here, right? Which I believe you guys have your own objective already. Why you guys are supposed to be here, because you guys want to know more about what the session is going to share with you guys. All right. But besides that, I just want to have a quick so-called like trend update, right? Just let you guys know what is it all about for today. I mean, like why cloud? I mean, I don't need to explain why cloud, because that's why you guys are here already. But the only thing that I would like to show you guys that you guys would probably know that cloud gonna be there somewhere sooner or later. Alright, it's just that why not get yourself ready first as of now, instead of it haunting you later. Okay, in other words, get yourself ready first. So before I even explain anything on the cloud, I always love to give you a scenario and things like this thing. Right, this is actually one of the most common scenario, right? Which says that, well, in a trend kind of manner, you always have things like this thing, all right? This is pretty much explaining like a sudden spike, all right? For example, it could be a sudden spike in the form of traffic, a sudden spike in the form of what do you call that, IOPS kind of scenario. It could be a sudden spike kind of, or we call that as compute instance kind of requirement. Suddenly you just need a lot more server, a lot more bandwidth, or a lot more storage for your job, all right? So that's why there's only one information here, which is time. It didn't say anything here, right? Because in many scenarios, sudden spike occurs in so many different ways, all right? So the next question is that how do you handle this? This thing is not new, because if you ask me, the sudden spike scenario is getting more and more often, more and more obvious nowadays, all right? Well, I do not need to explain why, but you know that social media has its own cause and effect onto this kind of sudden spike kind of scenario. You can be very famous one day, you can be very famous overnight. That's why they got a term for it, viral. All right, as good as your business as well. All right, your business can be as good as like viral. All right, so how are you guys ready for this thing? All right, in cases like this. So the next is actually all the facts and figures that you guys should be aware. All right, I mean in terms like in cloud, as you know, Microsoft cloud itself. All right, we are not new in the whole cloud kind of industry. This is actually how many. These are just numbers, all right, and telling it where we are right now. All right, as from Microsoft. We are being aggressively doing cloud, and if you pay attention on what Satya Nadella said, all right, cloud first, mobile first, all right. So we are actually, again, we are putting cloud as our number one priority. Yeah, I know somebody was asking me, if you say cloud first and mobile first, so which one is the real first? Never mind, I don't need an answer for that, but alright, so just trying to show you that how cool this all thing are. Alright, besides, I'm just gonna give you a few simple examples. Alright, these are all real world scenario. I'm not gonna give you conventional kind of examples. Let me give you another example like this thing. You guys have seen this before. For those gamers, you probably have seen this before. Titanfall. Alright, it's a game. Alright, the whole game session is posted on Azure. Posted about more than 100 Azure virtual machines. Right, this is a real world scenario where I mean the whole back-end platform is really riding on the cloud, right? So that you're able to host so many gamers at one time, all right? And does all the compute process itself, right? Yeah, I purposely give you one of the rarest kind of example you've probably thought of, because I think we are done with all those boring example like enterprise and business example. Let's look at something else as well. I mean, you got apps on the mobile industry, right? For example, like all your mobile apps and stuff like that. You got example like games. You got example like 3D house that does 3D rendering, right? All those things actually are still being powered by Azure. Even the one of the most common cases. Any iPhone users here? Okay, you can choose not to raise your hand. It's alright, fine. But even though your iCloud is actually sitting on Azure. Alright, so I'm just trying to show you that things are how cloud has been part of our everyday life already, that we are actually a natural users, natural consumers for most of the cloud scenario. Alright, so next another example here. For example, like Olympics, the NBC Olympics. Alright, so this is actually one very cool example where what it does actually is, well, it does live video streaming and coding. Alright, for 50 channels, all right, 50 channels, and what does Azure does in assisting this kind of scenario? In this case, is that it hosts all the video scenarios. That means that I can actually watch live streaming. Besides watching through TV, I can watch it through the websites. And besides that, in order to support different encoding, because for example, if I go to watch a video through an iPad, through an Android, through various different devices, through websites and so forth, then you're going to get a different encoding. So all this kind of encoding, the live streaming is pretty much been taken care of by Azure itself. Alright? and everything's run perfectly, all right, on Azure. Because how many viewers? So these are a number of viewers. These are a number of millions concurrent HD viewers during the USA and Canada hockey match, which actually was the peak. All right, throughout the whole period. And I'm gonna tell you the coolest part. All right, and the coolest part of all the compute instance that they have done hosted on Azure. All right, the billing didn't even exceed 20K USD. All right, which is pretty cool. All right, which throughout the period of 6 months. All right, 6 months while this whole solution is being hosted, and up to the extent of during the whole Winter Olympics period itself, which is pretty much like about 2 months. All right, that scenario when the actual event is actually ongoing. So, and again, the amount of servers that they put in, the amount of media streaming services that they're actually pushing out the content for people. I mean, so this is actually another one cool example of how they did. All right, so I just want to keep things a bit simple. All right, so I've shown you some examples. So why I want to emphasize that actually things are changing. All right, the trend has been changing towards cloud already. Right, so you probably have to figure out how the way you have to tackle your scenario differently. Your current business trend, you probably have to move away from a typical client-server scenario, all right? Because the definition of client-server, because you have to understand the amount of smarter device out there is gonna be even more, all right? So it's not just client-server. That means it's not just web. You're thinking about how the way to cater your content or even your backend process to be catered for all type of devices already. Right, it's not just browser anymore. Okay, I mean browser is still there, but the thing that we probably would like to care more is actually how does the content going to be delivered to different type of devices. All right, so data. All right, data volume growth is exponential as well. All right, the growth of data. Every 5 years you see like 10 times growth of data. And besides, total spending on cloud services has been keep on increasing, all right, which is a cool trend because you see that people are actually slowly adopting cloud technologies already, right? So so these are some of the mega trends, advanced to so-called like new business models and revenue streams. How does cloud as a mega trend changing the whole business industry? Right, what will you do with unlimited storage and processing power? All right, so this is actually how they change things as in how the way we work in the form of productivity kind of manner. I mean, just give you one simple example of my case. Yeah, I got a phone here. All right, I got another phone here. But the thing is that I don't even care where I keep my data. I don't really keep my data on the phone anymore. It's all on the cloud. Even if I lost a phone, I'm fine. I can grab another phone, log into my account, everything will sync back automatically. I mean, you have come to that extent already. Even things, for example, like my laptop. Yeah, I got a Lenovo here. I got 2 Surface upstairs. All right, and I got my laptop, another laptop at home. But so what? I mean, those are all just devices. All right. The coolest things that what we could do is I just need to log in. All my contents in my OneDrive. If not, it's in my SharePoint. And everything is in the cloud. Right, technically speaking, it's like that's how the way cloud has changed the way we work anymore. And one of the coolest things that I probably have to stop buying too many hard disks on a yearly kind of scenario already. Well, instead, I start to pay a lot more on cloud storage instead. But this is how trends are, all right, used to be and now. How the way things are differently. Alright, and again, some of the few things that you could actually try to ask yourself, how do you use big data for competitive advantage? Alright, it's not just analytics, it's not just prediction, it's not just reports. Alright, how do we can use the big data that you have, all the data that you have, make it into good use for yourself. Alright, can you deliver a richer mobile experience? Alright, so that's how the way clouds have been changing. even how the cloud changed the trend right now, as in that when you want to build a mobile app, you just don't think of one mobile app. You probably think of make sure that I have 3 mobile app on the store right now, right? As the de facto standard, right? Android, iOS, Windows Phone. Of course, I mean, if you are a CTO or you are a team lead, you probably want to figure out how the way you're going to keep the data in the back in the cloud itself. How the way the cloud can power your mobile apps, all right, in the most effective manner. Don't worry, we'll go through all this content one by one later. And how the way you deliver a more engaging experience, right? And how the way cloud gonna have that. Right? If you ask me, these are all the trends that cloud is influencing. All right, whatever I just explained earlier. All right, this is actually how cloud has been changing how the way we're gonna do our things. All right, productivity, or even for our casual gaming kind of scenario. Right? It's pretty cool. All right, so this is actually just showing you some of the key things, right? Right, on how cloud actually have affected us. All right, I just want to keep things simple. All right, so I'm gonna start with the three cloud scenario, but where you later see in the 2 tracks that you're gonna revisit, which is gonna be presented by Virtualization. All right, we call it Virtualization, and Ervin. All right, so how cloud, how are we gonna use cloud in our normal business process or even our IT kind of process scenario? So these are some of the key scenarios. All right, for example, like in application development. Right, probably this one you probably see a better example of how Ervin gonna show you on how the way you're gonna run your development team, your software team in a much more effective manner right now, powering by cloud. All right. While in IT operations, all right, probably Virtualization will show you another better example of how do you do a hybrid cloud scenario. In other words, taking advantage of what's best on the cloud and what's best on premises. All right, and running your own business, and yeah, and that's all. All right, okay. I'll let them show you their versions. All right, I'm not going to stop too much. I'll let them show you their versions of their cloud solutions. All right, so this is actually the whole Azure building blocks. All right, or we call it the Azure stacks that you will see. All right, and again, lastly, all right, please enjoy your session later, and see these 2 sessions, all right, on extending on-premise to a cloud, and another one is actually hybrid ALM, all right. How do you use a Team Foundation server with Visual Studio Online together, right, to manage your whole application lifecycle kind of management, all right, and thank you. And then yours.
Okay, good morning everyone. Do you need 5 minutes break? Toilet break?
Yeah, but you continue.
Sure.
Yes, boss.
Alright. Okay, so my topic today will be extending on-premise infrastructure to cloud. Right? Before please put silent mode on your phone. If you need to answer any call, you can go outside. Alright? Okay, well, before I start my sessions, right, I would like to check how many of you are developer? Okay. And how many of you are IT pro? Okay, so there's a mixture. Hi. I mean, Alright. So without wasting any more time, let me introduce myself. My name is Lai. Some people call me Virtual Lai because most of the time I'm virtually available anywhere. Alright. I'm a MVP for virtual machines for Hyper-V. Alright. I do share about virtualization, system center, and also Azure on my blog as well. So if you do want to learn more about virtualization, system center, Azure, please feel free to go to my blog and visit my blog as well. Right? Everyone got Facebook, right? Got Facebook? Come on, you all got Facebook, right? Okay. So if you do have a Facebook, you can go log into your Facebook. You search MBUG. We do have a user group. We share a lot of things about virtualization, system center, and also Azure as well. Right? You can join as a member. We got a lot of community members. We're willing to share a lot of things, right? Sometimes you do have a questions you want to post. We are willing to help you as well, right? Okay, I'm a founder for this user group. It has been running almost 5 years, right? And I'm also a technical reviewer for books and also video, which is talking about Windows Server 2012 R2 Hyper-V, right? It's available. It's already available on the market. You can go and have a look at it. But I'm not going to sell you this book. I'm not going to earn anything. Okay, that's more about introduction about myself. So let's quickly go through what are the things that we are going to cover for today. Okay, I'm going to start by looking into what is hybrid cloud. How many of you know what is hybrid cloud? Okay, then I got a question to you later. But there's no freebie, right? Okay. Alright, so I will be talking about what is hybrid cloud. And then I'm going to look into one of the cloud computing model, which is infrastructure as a service, right? And then most of the times I will go through on different scenarios. Okay, so you will realize that my presentation today will be more on talking about scenario rather than showing you demo. Okay. So to begin with, let's start with what is hybrid cloud. Mr. Gentleman, what do you understand about hybrid cloud?
I understand is, of course, to merge our online cloud resources with our on-premise resources.
Okay.
Using, as I should say, SQL words.
Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. So basically, hybrid cloud is consists of private cloud and also private cloud, public cloud. Private cloud plus public cloud equal to hybrid cloud. So private cloud means that's what you have on your on-premise. Okay, you get your own servers, your network, your compute. Then you set up your virtualizations and you start to introduce cloud on your on-premise. That is private cloud. Public cloud means that this is resources which provided by provider. For example, Microsoft. They provide Windows Azure for you to consume. Okay, with the combination of both of them equal to hybrid cloud. So now the next question is, how do I build a hybrid cloud? What do you need? First thing, we recommend you to deploy Windows Server 2012 R2 Hyper-V. Right? Welcome. In terms of management, we do have System Center 2012 R2. We got a lot of different components of System Center, which you can use it to manage your private cloud and also public cloud as well. Right? And last but not least, you need to go and subscribe to Windows Azure. Okay? So everyone know, right? Today you can go and test Windows Azure by go and to the website and you can sign up as a trial version. You can try for 30 days. It will give you around 200 USD credits for you to play around with it. Okay? Right. So this is if you look at on your left hand side, this is what you have on your on-premise. You buy your own server, you buy your own network, and you buy your own storage. You set up virtualizations of physical servers, and then you install applications. So this is what you have right now. Okay, nothing wrong with it. Most of 90% to 95% majority organization is running on-premise. Right? So there are three different cloud computing models available in the market right now. Okay. The first one is infrastructure as a service. Okay. So when we talk infrastructure as a service, you do not need to buy your own server, your network and storage. Okay. All this is provided by, let's say Microsoft, Windows Azure, will provide all this. All you need to do is you consume it, and you build a virtual machines, and you can install application inside. Right? So this is what you call infrastructure as a service. For platform as a service, you do not want to care about deploying VM. You just want to use it as a part of your service. Right? This means you deploy your application or you use their service. For example, for Microsoft, it's Office 365, which you can use it for your email, SharePoint, or collaboration as well. For software as a service, basically, if you do have your own pre-package of your data or your website, you just want to deploy on it, and you just want to available for to use it. This is software as a service, right? So what we are going to cover today is only this infrastructure as a service, which is we are going to talk about storage, networking, and compute. So let's start with Azure storage. So as what Daqing just now shared with you, right? You put everything to the cloud, right? The first question do you come in your mind is what is my availability of my application or my data? Is it secure there? Is it high available? Will you lose your data? Or you just trust to put everything on the cloud? Hello? Yes. Wow, good, man. Everyone trusts to the cloud, you trust all these kind of things. Well, something which I would like to share with you, for those of you who subscribe to Windows Azure, okay, if you store your data into the cloud, right, so Microsoft will always ensure that your data that's stored into the cloud will put into 3 different storage. Okay, you will make 3 copies, right? So let's say if one of the disks failed, right, it will rebuild and repair, you will create another copy. So this is how high durable and availability of your data. Right? So this is 3 copies, which is located in one data center. So what happens if there's a disaster happen? Right? So if disaster suddenly go and come to the data centers, your whole data center gone. So how do you protect your data? Do you think that these 3 copies is enough? Right? So if you worry, this is what we always call a kiasu. You worry too much that the disaster will happen, right? So you can enable dual replications. Dual replications. You will replicate these 3 copies to another data center, right? And Microsoft always built their data center more than 400 miles. Now you may ask me, why 400 miles? Why not 10 km? Just next building. Well, Microsoft always they do an analysis and survey. They realize that most of the times disaster won't go more than 400 miles. That's just my assumptions, okay? I also think like that, right? So basically, the next data center will be more than 400 miles. So for Southeast Asia, our nearest Microsoft data center is located in Singapore. The next one is Hong Kong. Right? So if you enable dual replications, these 3 copies will be replicated another 3 copies for the next data center. Right? So this will ensure a high availability for your data. Right? So now you trust Microsoft. Right, so let's look into a scenario where you use your Azure storage. Oh, by the way, just now I forgot to mention, when you sign up your Windows Azure account, the first thing that you need to create is Azure storage. Okay, to put your VMs or put your data. Okay, so let's look into the scenario. So the first scenario is hybrid cloud storage. How many of you know that Microsoft sells Seng storage? First time. Microsoft do sells Seng storage. And an appliance, it's not software, it's an appliance. So that appliance is called StoreSQL. Okay, Microsoft bought a company which selling appliance. So what is so great about this appliance compared to other self storage? Anyone?
Azure ready?
Okay.
Is it Azure ready something?
Yeah, it's Azure ready. Okay. So basically, it's nothing special about that box. Inside got SSD. Inside also got SAS disk. You can do auto tiering. Same with others appliance. Okay. One of the unique features about this box is it allows you to connect to the cloud. Okay. So and one of them is supported storage is Azure storage. Right. So now the thing is, how does your application or your server access to that storage? It's by using iSCSI connections. Okay, so that means you do not need to invest a very expensive HBA card. Okay, just use the internet connections. You will be able to present a LAN from that storage to your servers. Right. So once your application or store your data inside the appliance, you can configure a backup, or you can based on policy push all the inactive data to the cloud. So this is some sort of another solution for you to replace it. Right. There are two models: Store Simple 7000 series and Store Simple 8000 series. Right. The Store Simple 8000 series we just released this month. Okay. The beauty about this box is it introduces services to Azure. Okay. The first one is Store Simple Manager. Okay, that will provide a very secure your data. Okay. For enterprise customers, of course, we do recommend you to deploy System Center DPM, Data Protection Manager. Okay, this is one of the products which allow you to back up Microsoft workload. Okay, either Windows servers, SQL Server, Exchange Server, SharePoint, Hyper-V, Active Directory, File Server, any kind of Microsoft workload. Okay, by using DPM. Okay, so DPM, once you do a backup, it will store your data into the disk for short-term backup. For those of you who would like the long-term backup, you can transfer to tape. And last but not least, you can also transfer to Microsoft Azure. Right? Okay. So that is more about backup, right? So for those of you who are looking into DR, so in most scenario, on your on-premise, you probably would have network, storage, and also server. And some of you may deploy Hyper-V. Oh, by the way, how many of you deploy running Hyper-V? Okay, we got 1, 2. VMware? Alright, multi-hypervisor, some of you. Right? Okay. So on your premise, you will have compute, network, and storage. Okay, then you start to look into virtualizations. Okay, there's no longer a practice whereby in your organization for one workload you deploy on one physical server. Okay, most of the time now everyone start to look into virtualizations. All right. And then on top of the VMs, you install applications. Okay, for example, SQL, IS, any application into your VM. So how do we set up DR? The most common scenario for most organizations is for storage. They will use storage replications. Replicate whatever data on the storage to DR. Okay, this is the most common most people will do. Okay, to replicate. But the thing is, when you configure storage replications, you need to get a similar brand of storage. So if your primary data centers is running Dell EcoLogic, your DRs must also get Dell EcoLogic as well. Okay, must get the same brand of your Seng storage. Right. So for those of you who set up virtual machines, how do we set up DR? Okay, that's the beauty of Windows Server 2012 R2. You can now use the built-in features called Hyper-V Replica. It allows you to perform asynchronous replications from data center A to data center B. With Windows Server 2012 R2, it provides you extended replica from from data center B to data center C. Okay? For applications, most of the time what we will always do is we set up SQL always on. Replicate your database to another database, another SQL. For automating the whole entire process, we can also leverage on Azure Site Recovery. So this is the most common scenario, how do you set up a DR. Now let's look into Azure Site Recovery for DR purpose. Right. So on your premise, if you would like to leverage on using Azure Site Recovery, you need to deploy Hyper-V. Okay? I'm so sorry to say for VMware user, right? You need to deploy Hyper-V because Hyper-V replicas is built into the OS itself, alright? And then on your DR, right, you set up Hyper-V as well, and then you configure replications, right? Okay, you configure replications, and if you do want to subscribe to Azure Site Recovery to provide orchestrating and automations of failover, right? You need to deploy System Center Virtual Machine Manager. Once you have deployed System Center Virtual Machine Manager, you will be able to connect to Azure Site Recovery. Okay, at the back end, this will replicate by using Hyper-V replica. For your information, nothing is stored on Azure Site Recovery. It's just a mechanism to connect to these two data centers and provide you a mechanism to perform planned failover, unplanned failover, or you can also create a recovery plan. Okay? Let me ask you about one very simple question. When there's a disaster happen, what you always will do? There's only three things that you always will do. First, you will always go and look for hard copy. Look for your vendor's documentation. Oh my God, I need to look at the documentation. Which one to fail over first? What service need to start? All these kind of things, right? Okay. But the thing is, your documentations, hard copy, you probably do not know where does it located in your desk, on your desk. Probably you already throw it into a dustbin or put it into your storeroom. So that is the first scenario. Second scenario, the easiest way that most people will do is they will save their documentations. In case of DR, they can refer back, right? Then you put it into a file server. But the problem is, file server is too big. Sometimes I also get lost. Where do I put my file? Do you encounter that? You do, right? So that's the second scenario problem. Third scenario, this is the most famous one. And sometimes I also use this. They will call Live. Hi Live, do you know which VM to boot up first? You call your vendor. Okay, this is the most common scenario. You will call a vendor to troubleshoot all these kind of things, right? So Azure Site Recovery provides you a very simple way. You do not need to rely on documentations. You do not rely on hard copy. You do not rely to call your vendor. You just create your which VM that you want to boot up first. Set your recovery plan. Then you can configure failover. Okay, by using Azure Site Recovery. Okay, just now is for those of you who has a data center on DR, secondary data center. So what happens for those organizations which does not invest on DR? You only got primary site. You don't have DR, right? You can now leverage on Microsoft Azure as your DR. You can now replicate your virtual machines to Azure, right? By using Azure Site Recovery. Let me show you a demo on how does Azure Site Recovery work. Okay. How many of you seen this demo before? Azure Site Recovery. First time? First time, huh? Okay, so what I'm going to show to you is replicate to Azure, right? This is how it look like when you log into Azure. You go to Recovery Services here. Then I already create one vault. Click on Dashboard. you will be able to view how many virtual machines is protected and replicated. Right? If you go to Protect Virtual Machine Manager on your on-premise, once you already create a cloud by using VM, okay. There's one cloud which I already connect and protected for replications, right? So let's assume that we know you configure replicate to web, okay? On-premise replicate to Azure, right? You notice here, storage account first, right? Okay. To ensure how secure, once you enable encryptions, any data that you store into Azure storage will be encrypted. Okay, even though they manage to get the data, they will not be able to open that file as well, right? So, for those of you who are very familiar with Hyper-V Replica, you can configure 3 schedule of replications. Okay, how often do you want to replicate? Okay, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, or 15 minutes. Okay, most of the time, if you replicate to Azure, you will configure 15 minutes, unless you got a very big bandwidth. Right? How many recovery points that you want to store? You can also specify up to 0 to 24 hours. Right? If your application do support application consistent snapshots, you can also enable that as well. Okay. And then you can start your replication now. So once I click save, you will create this policy. So let me get out from here. Let me show you one of the which I already configured. So we already create a policy to enable replications. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to select which VM that you want to replicate. Not all VM on your cloud on your premise that you want to replicate and perform failover. Right? So you can just select from here. So you notice there's a few VMs that I did not select. So once you have select and click OK, it will add into this list. Right? So once you click that, you will start to transfer the initial VM's data into Azure. Right? So the next step is you need to start to create a recovery plan. You want to configure a plan, what happens when there's a disaster. Right? So you can create a plan here, let's say test plan 1. Source is from on your on-premise, target to Azure. Okay. You can specify which VM that you want to park under this plan. Okay. Right. So I already create a plan. When I go in and have a look at it, it will put all these VM under one group. That means when a disaster happens, it will try to shut down all the primary VM first, and then it will boot up all the VMs on this group. But of course, sometimes there's you do not want to some VMs that you need to boot up first before another VM. For example, database and web server. So which one should you boot up first? Database first or web server? How many of you say database? Okay, how many of you say web server? Okay, right. So you need to configure a recovery plan to boot up database first. Make sure the database is up and running. Then the next one, you configure web server. All right. So what you need to do is then you create a group. Okay. Let's say I create a 4 group here. Then I start to move the VMs. Okay. Group 1 means that the VM will boot up first. Okay, I can just click this and move it to second group. And then the database, the first one. The test, I move to the next group. Okay. So what happened here is the Active Directory will boot up first, then followed by SQL. And the next one will be your applications. Okay. Of course, the best is you configure another group and you put SQL in the second group. Okay, the DC always boot up first. Okay, without domain controller, your database won't start the service as well. Right? Then you click save. Okay, so I'm just going to skip this. Once you already create your plan, let's say when there's a disaster happen, when sometimes I'm not sure about you, when I go for vacation, there's a disaster happen on my on-premise. Okay, my colleague will call me. All right, they say, hey, there's a disaster happen. So how do I perform a failover? Well, I can tell him on the phone, or I can use my laptop, connect to internet, log into Azure portal, and click on this failover. Perform plan failover. All right. If you click on plan failover, what it will do is it will shut down the primary VM on-premise, and you will boot up all the VM on the Azure. Alright? So before a disaster happens, you can also perform a test. Okay, sometimes your VM already replicate to Azure. So how do you ensure that your VM is working fine? So of course, during maintenance times, you need to perform tests. So when you click on test, it will start to create a clone VM on Azure while your production VM is up and running. Okay? All this testing can be performed with an isolated network on Azure. Okay, without any interrupting to your on-premise. Okay. Right, so let's back to the slide. So far, any questions about storage? We use it to store data. You also use storage for your DR. Right? So the next topic that we're going to look at is network. Okay, how do we bridge your networks from on-premise to Azure? Right? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to get a firewall. Okay? So we do have a supported firewall. If you look at the screen there, you got Cisco, Citrix, F5, Juniper, WatchGuard, and some of you can also deploy Windows Server 2012, and you deploy RS features in. Okay, you can also use this to bridge between your on-premise to Azure. Right? Okay, let me ask on the floor. How many of you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 firewall on your on-premise? This brand? No, right? Okay, most of you probably use different brand. Probably some of you using Checkpoint. Okay, or you are using other firewall. Right? So it's quite ridiculous that you only have this supported list, right? Okay, do not worry. For those of you who are not on this list, we do support a generic firewall, as long as your firewall can support this. IPE version 1, version 2, AES, and SAS. Okay? So all you need to do is pass these informations to your firewall vendor. Just inform them, or you check with them. Does my firewall support all this? If they say yes, you can bridge your network to Azure. Right? So no need to go and buy this brand. Right? So let's look into a scenario where do we use this virtual network. The first scenario is the most common one. Okay? You got on-premise. You would like to establish a connection to Azure. Right? With the list which I just mentioned, supported firewall, you can bridge between your on-premise to Azure. Once you already bridge your connections, you have another virtual network, another subnet, okay, on Azure. It's just similar like another data centers. You won't realize it, right? And then once you already bridge, you can start to creating VM. Okay, the first VM that you should deploy is you need to deploy Active Directory, right? And then once you have Active Directory on Azure, you can start to deploy all other applications. Okay? So your on-premise client will be able to access, from outside also will be able to access as well. Right? Second scenario, for those of you who do have branch environments, okay? For example, you have a branch which is located in JB, you would like them to access to Azure as well. You can also establish a site-to-site VPN and also establish a connection from branch to primary site. This is what we call multi-site. Okay, multiple connections connect to Azure and also on-premise. Okay, Microsoft Azure support this. right? Third scenario, you got first subscriptions, you're creating your VM which is located in Southeast Asia. You probably got another branch which is located in US. Okay, and US branch probably got their own Azure subscription as well. Alright? One in US, one in Southeast Asia. You can also establish a connections VPN gateway to here. Okay, between Azure to Azure. This is what we call VNext to VNext. You can also do that as well. Right? Last but not least, okay, for those of you who are very hardworking, after office hour also need to work. Developer or system administrator. Okay, you can also establish a point to site using a VPN client on your laptops. You can also connect to Azure as well. Right? So this is the 4 common scenarios. Right? So for those of you who are, so we already talked about site-to-site VPNs, all the different connections, right? This is the most common scenario. But the thing is, some organizations, they would like to leverage on using list line. Alright? So Microsoft do provide and talk to work together with action provider. For example, in Southeast Asia, the most famous one is Equinix, and the next one is Intel. Okay? So they do provide a list line up to 10 gigabit connections to Azure. Right? So for those of you who are looking into this, and for those of you who are MPLS network, you can also establish a connecting a connection to Azure as well. But this one, MPLS, at this moment is only available in US. Malaysia not yet. Malaysia only this. Alright? So if you do need a list line connections, you can talk to Singtel. Right? Any questions on network? Yes?
On the network,
Yeah.
for example, I want to create a new branch. What is the minimum hardware server that I need on site, on premise, to connect to Azure?
Okay, you got a remote site, another data centers, a remote branch. You would like to connect to Azure, right?
I'm in a new company. I'm a new company. I want to set up a branch and use the infrastructure in the Azure. Right?
Okay. My question to you is your on-premise organization going to access to Azure?
Yes.
The first thing that you need to do is get a firewall.
Okay.
Yeah, remember the list which I just showed to you, right? Or supported, or the firewall which can support that protocol just now. You get a firewall, subscribe window Azure subscriptions, then you can establish that tunnel.
That's it.
Yes.
So I don't need the DC, the domain controller.
If your application requires a domain controller, then you set up domain controller. Some organization does not use Active Directory. I'm not surprised. Some of them, they are not using AD. So you do not need AD. Or if you want to set up a connection to Azure, get a firewall, establish connection, that's it. Yeah, once you establish the connections, then you can start to create VM. Then your on-premise user will be able to access to that VM and work on that. We will look into that scenario later. Okay. So let's switch gear to the last year. We're going to look into compute. You already set up storage. You already got network. The next thing that you're going to do is creating VM. Alright? Okay, so on Azure, we got 2 pricing. One of them is called basic tier, and the one that you look on the screen is standard tier. So what's the difference between basic tier and standard tier? Okay? Basic tier does not provide load balancing and auto scaling. Okay? Basic tier only cover the spec from A0 to A4. Okay, so if you do require a higher spec and you do need load balancing and auto scaling, you must select standard tier. Okay, this will appear when you're creating a VM. It will ask you standard tier or basic tier. Right? So we do provide a A0 to A9 VM spec. Right? For A0 and A1 is most of the time is for testing or very low workload. A2 to A4, this will provide a high IOPS. Right? A5 to A7, that will provide high memory. For those of you who are looking into high compute, A8, A9, right? So sometimes when I present this slide, my customer will ask me, what happens if I got a workload which is 4 gig of RAM? So in the list, do you see any 4 gig RAM? No, right? So what am I going to do? There's no 4 gig here. Okay? Then you will ask me, can I configure 4 gig? I still want 4 gig. Right? So basically what I'm going to advise my customer is, for starting, you probably select A2 first, which is going to provide you 3.5 gig of memory. Okay? After you run for a while, you think that 3.5 is not enough, then you can easily switch to another layer, which is A3, which provides 7 gig. Okay? Right? So make sure you can select which one that you want. And also depend on your VM that you create, the number of additional disks that you want. Sometimes when you create a VM database, you probably create D, E, F, G, H, right? Number of disks, right? If you require 4 disks, right, then you must select those that provide 4 disks. You cannot select, oh, I want the VM to boot up using A1. But the thing is, A1 only provides data disk 2. Right? So you must choose A2 or A3. Right? Okay, so what is my SLA? I already create my VMs on Azure. Right? Microsoft will provide SLA 99.95 for VM. With the condition, where's the asterisk? There's the asterisk here. Okay? In order for you to achieve 99.95%, you need to create at least 2 VMs. Okay, 2 identical virtual machines, then Microsoft will provide you 99.95%. Okay? That will cover for 4 hours of downtime in a year. For a month, it's around 20 minutes. Okay? So what does the SLA cover? The SLA only cover for hardware failure, disk failure, network failure, this data center failure, right? Or hardware upgrading or software maintenance. Okay? The SLA does not cover for patching the OS. Okay? Microsoft only provides you compute, network, and storage. You create the VMs based on that resources. You need to maintain the VM by yourself. You still need to patch it. If you want to install antivirus, you can also install antivirus to protect the VM. Okay, that is not covered here. So you need to configure that. If you want to configure backup to protect your data, you can subscribe and connect to Azure Terminal Azure Backup, which I just mentioned just now. Right? Yep. So when you, as what I just mentioned, in order for to achieve 99.95%, you need to create at least 2 VM. Right? When you create 2 virtual machines and you configure availability set, Microsoft will always ensure that this one VM will locate in one rack, another VM locate in another rack. Okay, and these 2 VM will never put into the same rack. Okay, because of availability set. So let's say if Microsoft want to do maintenance, you will do maintenance on one rack first before you go to the next rack. That's why you need 2 VM. Okay, so but some of my customers they only create 1 VM. So if Microsoft do maintenance, of course there's a downtime. Okay, so we advise you to create at least 2 VM. For high availability, for your web server, you can create multiple virtual machines, alright? And then you do not need to buy load balancer. Load balancer is provided by Microsoft free of charge. Okay, you can load balance all your virtual machines, any port that you want. Okay, for SQL Server, to replicate the database, you can configure SQL mirroring. Right? So what is so great about VMs on Azure? Right? What is so great about it? Besides the availability, SLA, alright?
Very easy to create.
Yeah, very easy to create. You can select your predefined OS images, right? We do support Windows and also Linux OS. Okay, for Windows, it's starting from 2008 and above. Right? For Linux, we do support CentOS. You need to check on this. For those of you who got Linux, we do support that as well. Okay. So what happens if all the list there is not available for you? Let's say you want to create, for example, your own. You already create your own VM running on Hyper-V, right? You already install with all the applications. You can easily upload this VM to Azure as well. Okay. You can also do that as well. But if you're running Windows, make sure the OS is running 2008 and above. We do not support 2003. End of life. Okay, so make sure your OS must be 2008 and above. You upload to the Azure, you will be up and running as well. Okay, one of the beauty about putting your VMs or running a VM on Azure, one of the beauty about this is you can also configure a policy to auto scale, right? You do not need to, let's say if you create 5 or 6 VM for web server, you do not need to power on all the VM. You can just power on one VM. You can configure a policy based on certain threshold. Let's say a CPU spike, right? A CPU spike. And on Azure, Microsoft will automatically power on the next VM, right? So when they detect the workload is lesser, it will automatically power off that second VM. So we do provide auto scaling, right? But yes.
Sorry. Regarding auto scaling, for example, if you're running like CPU intensive, for example, like media encoding, right? We want our CPU to run at like maximum, or 90%.
Yes.
So how do we auto scale in that scenario?
Okay, for those, you need to create a policy. Then you define how many threshold that is going to hit, then create another VM or boot up another VM. So you need to monitor your behavior of your VM. So if your VM is always 90%, my recommendation to you is create another VM and boot up the second VM.
No. For example, one of our app actually encode and decode the media files.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the media file.
I do want my VM to run on 100% if possible, and using the maximum memory.
Okay.
Right. So, currently because of that, okay, we're on Amazon.
Okay.
And we use Amazon's got this a stack, the request stack in the queue.
Okay.
So we can auto scale based on the request stack in a queue.
Okay.
But does it support in Azure as well?
At this moment, if I'm not mistaken, it's only on CPU and also storage.
Or storage?
Yes. If your storage got a lot of queue, then you can scale based on that.
Okay. We're talking about the disk storage, or we're talking about the Microsoft Q storage? Disk storage.
Yes.
All right.
Account storage, creating your VMs.
Yeah.
You can also based on that. Okay, you monitor that based on that.
Alright.
Alright, so when you got a high peak again, then it will start to boot up all your VMs. Right? So all this perform for you automatically. You do not need to do anything. You can also set to happen auto scaling based on date and time. Right? So what's the benefit of auto scaling like this? You notice there's power on, power off, power on, power off. How many of you know about the pricing of Microsoft? Microsoft charge for VM is per minute. So if you are using this probably for 10 minutes, then you scale another VMs, or probably using for 5 minutes, Microsoft only bill you for 5 minutes. Okay, this does not charge you per hour. Okay, so when the virtual machine is off, there's no charges. Okay, there's no charges for compute, but there's a charges for storage, because you put your VM inside there. Okay, but among the price for all the resources, Azure storage is the cheapest and it's the lowest price. Okay, so let's look into a scenario. Where is the most common scenario that you're creating your VM, and what's the main purpose of using it? Okay, on your on-premise, you probably got the first scenario is using for DR. Okay, on your premise, you create you has Active Directory, DNS, SQL Server, File Server, and Web Server. Right. So the first thing that you need to do is subscribe to Azure to create storage. Next thing is build a VPN tunnel by using a supported firewall. This is, I think, is equal to your scenario. Alright? So once you have done that, you want to use it for DR, you create your virtual machines. Let's say you create AD. Okay, you create your first AD, you can configure using Active Directory replications to replicate the Active Directory from here to your Azure. For SQL Server, how do you replicate your data on-premise to Azure? You can use SQL mirroring or SQL always on. For File Server, you can leverage on the operating system features called DFS to do replicate your file server on-premise to Azure. Right? For Web Server, you can use the tool called Xcopy or RoboCopy to copy the content of your web server to Azure. Okay? Then once you put your virtual machine on Azure, you can publish it out. Or by default, all this is isolated network and secure network. User from outside will not be able to access to your on-premise to your Azure VM unless you publish the port. Okay, let's say I publish web server, open port 80 and 443. Okay, so the user will be able to access as well. Okay, you can configure auto scaling to scale, right? And all this will be load balanced by the load balancer. Okay? So this is the most common scenario for DR. Second scenario, this is more applicable probably for most of you who are developer. Some of my customers, they use Azure as a DR or for UAT. They create the same things as long as they got a VPN tunnel. Okay? So let's say if some of the organization, they are very concerned, they say, I don't want to create another connection from on-premise to Azure. Okay, they don't want to do this. So the corporate user want to access to this VM, they can just log into Azure portal, click on the connect, it will open RDP. So they can work on one of the VM, probably is a staging server. In that VM, then you will be able to access all these resources as well. Okay. Another option is you can use point to site, install a VPN agent into your laptop. You can establish a connection to Azure, and you can work from there as well.
By VPN agent, you mean desktop or something else?
No, there's one called point to site. When you create point to site, there's an agent that you need to install on your laptop. Once you install that, it's just like a VPN client. Then you click connect, you will connect to Azure. Right? Okay, so that is the two common scenarios. Right? So you already set up your infrastructure on Azure and also your on-premise. Okay, in terms of management, we do have a product called System Center 2012 R2. Anyone know about System Center 2012 R2? I think everyone know about this, right? So let me quickly go through on this, right? We do have a lot of components of System Center. One of them is App Controller. App Controller allows you to manage your private cloud and also Azure. So you can use this tool to manage your VM. You can also creating VMs by using App Controller. Second tool is Virtual Machine Manager. This is the virtualization management stack, which allows you to manage your different hypervisor. You can use this tool not only to manage Hyper-V, you can also manage VMware and also Citrix server. Right? You can also use this to manage your network and also storage as well. Right? And for those of you who are looking into Azure Site Recovery, you need to deploy Virtual Machine Manager. It is one of the components. Okay? You can also use Virtual Machine Manager to start to create private cloud, okay, on your on-premise. Okay? In terms of monitoring end-to-end, you want to monitor private cloud and also public cloud, you can use Operation Manager. For ticketing, you can use Service Manager. For orchestrating and automations, okay, between two different clouds, you can also use orchestrator. And last but not least, for backup, you can use VPN. So this is the whole entire suite, right? So for those of you, if I'm not mistaken, for those of you who buy System Center license, you're entitled to deploy all these products. It's already covered. So you do not need to buy a separate license. Okay. Any questions before I go for the demo? Okay, go on. Okay, how many of you managed to play around with Azure? Log into Azure portal. Besides that, just now I showed in the demo. Some of you probably no. Have you visit the Azure portal? Man, I should ask Microsoft to give you Starbucks. I give you Starbucks, you subscribe and play around with it. Too bad I don't have this moment. Okay, let me show you a preview of new portal. Is this? We start again. Okay. So this is, sorry. This is old portal. Okay, old portal whereby you can access all the resources. Right? Today got elephant. Okay, so this is the old portal. I think this one you can play around with it. What I'm going to show to you is the new portal. This one. Alright. So this is the preview editions of Azure portal. It's a new portal. Once you log in, you will be able to view the dashboard of all the data centers available. It consists of Microsoft Azure, right? Too bad. They're not all green. Okay, so this means Singapore and Hong Kong is good. The data center today is good, but the thing is other data centers probably got some problems, right? So you can easily click on that. You want to know more what are the services that's down. So you notice here cloud services, there's some problem with it. So you can just click on that, it will open up. It will tell you that East US, North Central, and others probably got some problem there. How many of you got MSDN subscriptions? Okay, for those of you who do have MSDN subscriptions, you can activate your Azure subscriptions. It depends on your subscription level. If I'm not mistaken, Visual Studio will give you 100 credit per month. 150. 150. I only got 100. Okay, so you can just activate, okay, and then you can create your VM and play around with it, okay. And for your information, that credit, let's say you got 150 credit, that credit will recycle every month. Okay, either you use it or you don't use it, right? So if you look at here on my screen here, I got a lot of subscriptions. So I got 100. I got one is almost finished. Right? Anyone want to donate to me? Right? So basically, you can also set a cap. Okay, just a quick reminder for those of you who want to play around with Azure. When you sign up, make sure that you set a spending limit. Okay, set a cap. Okay, if you are let's say you got 150 credit, if you are exceeding the credit, you will stop. It will not charge you. All right.
Once you set a spending limit, can you remove that again?
Yeah.
Can you set it back again?
Yes, you can.
Because previously you couldn't do that.
You
Once
can.
removed spending limit, you can put this back again. Previously, I guess.
Oh, okay. But
Okay.
what I did test, yes, you can. Okay. Right. Okay, if you want to create your VMs, you can select based on the template here. You can select 2012 SQL servers. All right. Just for your information, all this VM is covered your license as well. So you do not need to buy additional license unless you upload your own VM. You upload your own VM, then you need to buy license for that. Okay, all the virtual machines that you create here, all is covered under Microsoft. They already charge you. Alright. Okay, so if you go and select, let's say, creating a Windows Server 2012 R2, it will come out like this. Huh? Oh, is it? Oh, okay. They are doing live streaming, that's why I need to start and stop. Right, so you just enter the value, host names, all these kind of things, and then you can select your tiers. So you can select your tiers here. For those of you who would like to play around this at home, you can log in using this URL, portal.azure.com. Right? And then from here, you can select which VMs that you want. Right? It's up to you. Okay, so that is a quick preview of Azure Portal. The next one which I'm going to show to you is failover a VM. Okay. So I already bridged connections from on-premise to Azure, and I did set up a web server. Okay, so if you look at here, I already set up a virtual machines which is running here. I also create a virtual machines on Azure. Okay, so if I go to here, let me show you this one. So I already create two virtual machines, web server, on-premise and also Azure. I deploy the same applications. Okay, I use this for DR. Okay, so let's say my on-premise got problems. Okay, it will fail over all the traffic to the Azure web server. So this is the sample of my web server web page. Anyone buy Xiaomi power bank? No. Man, it's every Tuesday and sometimes Thursday. Yeah, Xiaomi. Xiaomi is a very famous e-commerce website at this moment. We're selling power bank and also phone. I'm selling my phone. No. Okay, so this is what happened when you try to place an order. Okay, you try to place an order on the website, and sometimes you are very frustrated. At 12 o'clock, I'm logging in, I press F5, but the thing is always come up with this logo. Alright? It's showing a rabbit, it's showing that your chart is empty. So this is a web page which I'm trying to simulate, which is available on my on-premise. Okay? So let's say I simulate a failure lah. So I'm going to turn it off. Okay, let me see here. Is it turning off? Okay, it's already off. So if I press F5 again, alright. Look, it redirect my on-premise user to Azure VM. So I use this as a DR. Okay, so I no longer see a rabbit with the empty chart, but it's showing that we are under constructions. Okay, under repair, right? So this is how the DR works. If you want to test it. Okay, so let's back to the slide. Well, let's wrap up. Am I on time? Yeah, I'm on time. So basically today I already talked about what's the definition of hybrid cloud. It's a combination of private cloud and also public cloud that will make as a hybrid cloud. I also talked about storage. Okay, different scenario of your storage. Okay, as how durable the storage and protect your data as well. Okay, I also talked about network. Okay, different kind of network, site-to-site VPN, multi-site VPN, VNext to VNext, point to site. Okay, you can also use a list line called Express Route as well. And then I also talked about a VM. You can create your Windows VM or Linux VM. Alright? Okay. So this is the three components which is make up of infrastructure as a service. Okay. So last but not least, before I close my sessions, the component of the setup, the hybrid cloud, the best component is using Windows Server 2012 Hyper-V. In terms of management, use System Center and also Microsoft Azure. So this will provide you a complete solution. Okay, so right. So that's all for today. Any more other questions? Okay, if you do have, I know some of you are very shy. If you do have any question, you can drop me an email. Okay, I do provide consultancy in terms of Hyper-V System Center or Azure deployment as well. Right? There's several links here. You can go and visit it. Right? And any questions? Calling once, calling twice. No one. All right. So I'm Virtual Live. I would like to sign off for now. See you next time. Presenter. I think you can go for 5 minutes break. I think we're waiting for the second speaker to set up. 冇做，APP 3嚟。
佢冇同我講做。
唉，應該做啊！呢作嚟啊，我哋3個可以影相㗎。而家唔 complete。
冇嘢咧，得嘅。
嚇！我愛俾 Catherine 睇下嘛。係啊。
你有冇俾 Catherine 睇下？
你又冇着喎？哎呀！
做你手？
啊？
做你手？
咩？
做你手？
手？
香港啲點手？
係啊，唔係個手啊！
之前俾啲。
唔係啦，咁肥做乜嘢？肥咗啊，痛啦，好大嘅嘢添喎。
報緊我。
冇間人手㗎。
係啊。
你幫我收咗。
你做啦。俾你做。唔使啊，直接去試試咧。做啦。Okay, I think let us start now. I have a short announcement. Later on, lunch is provided. Okay? I hope you are not hungry yet. Lunch is provided, and if you manage to fill up the evaluation form and pass it to the counter in front, they will give you a very special limited edition T-shirt. Okay. Okay, I think not to waste time, let us start now. Okay, I would like to ask anyone here is a developer? Anyone here is doing sysadmin infra stuff? I thought the developer will raise hands because it's a common culture, we cover everything. Okay, thanks for coming to this session. Thanks for dropping by on Friday, and it's the last day of the week. I hope you are not working tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm working tomorrow. Okay, today this is a tech team. Okay, this is Ming. Okay, I'm Ervin. So we will cover something known as a hybrid ALM. ALM means application lifecycle management. Nowadays people like hybrid, right? Hybrid car. And even though you go to Mama store and order some drinks, you order champagne, those type of thing, hybrid. So as the term implies, hybrid is a mixture of on-premise and on-cloud. So ALM, application development, application lifecycle management. So what we are trying to focus here is how do we break down your development activities in a way that certain things are on-premise, certain things are on the cloud. So when we talk about on-premise, we are looking at Team Foundation Server, TFS. But when we talk about cloud, this is Visual Studio Online. Okay, please don't misunderstand. Visual Studio Online, although it's on the cloud, it doesn't mean that you don't need to install Visual Studio. You still need to install. Okay, it's just Visual Studio Online. Okay, let us start. So let's cut the story short. Today we will start off with what ALM is. Okay, application lifecycle management. Okay, then we move on to a hybrid ALM, a mixture of on-premise and on-cloud. Then we will go through a series of demonstration. Now, what you will see in the demo later on is certain development activities it can be on-premise, whereas certain activities it can be on the cloud. So what are the things that it can be on-premise development? You need to install Visual Studio, so that's most likely on-premise, unless you want to use Nampa for development. Okay, so we will start off with project management. Then how do we make use of Visual Studio Online to assign tasks to the developer? The developer starts the development, then pass back to the QA for testing. Then how do we automate it? So some of these activities you will see automation. Automation can occur on-premise and on cloud. So what we will do later on is whatever things that it can be automated on the cloud, we will show you. Okay? So let us start on what ALM is, application lifecycle management. Okay. Now when we talk about application lifecycle management, most of the time people think about application development. When we talk about application development, in our mind is development. But don't forget, when we develop a specific piece of software, or now people like to use the word app, it goes through certain cycle. It goes through the governance, the project management part, the development part, then the operation part. Then when it goes to the operation part, it is where it goes into the maintenance mode, where change requests will come in. Okay, so you need some kind of mechanism and some tools to help you to automate certain tasks. Okay, now most of the time, what do people use? They have a source control, store source code, but is that enough? Sometimes it's not enough, because in software development, you need to track a lot of things. Whenever you lose track of certain things, then you will get blamed, because you don't have a black and white to prove certain things. Okay? But I know most of the time, right, in the typical software development project, you assign a task to developer, the developer open up Visual Studio and start coding, okay, without any planning. That's what commonly happen over here. So back to ALM. When we talk about modern application development, we are talking about value. We want to increase the value, we want to minimize the waste. Okay, like in the form of engineering, we want to maximize productivity, we want to minimize the risk. So in a typical application lifecycle management, we go through certain stage, the planning stage. Now planning stage, it can be happen in two types of planning. The first type of planning is before you start to develop a certain piece of software or buy a certain piece of commercial off-the-shelf software, you go through a planning. Okay. Then there is another type of planning is management says, okay, I want to develop this now. You plan. Okay, you plan. So you go through planning, then you go through development plus testing. Okay, development plus testing. When we talk about testing, it can be functional testing and non-functional testing. Then you go to release. Then from release, you deploy to production, you go through monitor, and you learn. You learn from the user whether there are certain things you need to be added to the system or not. Then user will come in the request will come in the form of change request, enhancement request, and so on. Now what we can see over here is from the development to production, we need collaboration. When we talk about collaboration, it's not collaboration between the development team. It is collaboration between the tester, between the stakeholders, and so on. So what we are trying to focus in our session, in this demo pack session later on is how do we automate certain tasks through hybrid ALM. We make use of certain tools from development to production. So let us go deeper into ALM. What do we actually have in ALM, which is the application lifecycle management. So this is a big picture of ALM. You can have this part of the service, everything on the cloud. So what is the most typical form or most basic form when we talk about software development? You need to have a source code repository to store source code. Now, in terms of Team Foundation Server, we support two types of source code repository. One is Git, the other one is Team Foundation version control. Then we support through hybrid ALM, the agile planning. So out of the box, we support things like Kanban, dashboard, Scrum, and so on. Okay. Then we have team rooms. What is this? This is a chatting room. Okay, this is a chatting room whereby different team members can collaborate with each other in the chatting room. Now, when we talk about chatting room, it's not just purely the chatting room. You can assign tasks, you can track project status in the chatting room. Then we have test case management, a tool that you can help you to do test planning, test and execution, and so on. Then we have feedback management. We develop certain thing, a skeleton, mock UI. We ask the end user to feedback, okay, is this the UI that you want? So we support feedback management. And we also support build and continuous integration over here. So when we talk about build, right, it's not just pressing F5 or compiling the source code. You are doing a lot of things. You are doing static code analysis, you are running testing as part of build, and so on. So that's the most basic form that we can see over here. So if we were to move a level higher, we have load testing. So in hybrid ALM, we support load testing on the cloud. So what does load testing on the cloud mean here is, let's say you develop a front-end website, okay? You want to simulate a certain percentage of the users coming from different parts of the world. So how do you simulate that? You deploy your test script on the cloud, then you specify a mix pattern. 20% of my users coming from Singapore, another 20% from Europe, the mixture percentage. That's the kind of testing that you can do. Then other things, we have lab management that lets you actually create a virtual test lab to test your app. Okay? Now, besides this, right, we also support release management. When we talk about release management, we are talking about automated release management. Okay, before you release your software, it goes through certain stage, maybe from staging to UAT to production. How do we automate that? Okay, that is through the release management. So when we talk about project server, what can it do on the cloud? We call it as the project online. Now, most of the time, right, when we track project, we only track by a piece of task, whether it's completed or not, whether it fulfills certain deadline. But if you incorporate project server, you can do risk management, you can do portfolio management, translate the hours into a certain value. Okay, then you will know the cost of the project. Okay. So that is the typical picture of the ALM. Okay. So another level higher is, okay, we also support continuous deployment to Azure. Okay, you can create an app, okay, then you deploy to Azure. Then we have another thing called application insights. Now what does it do? When you are creating a certain .NET project, it actually helps you to inject certain code into the project. Then you deploy the completed app to production. So whenever something goes wrong, the app through the mechanism will send some status back to TFS. So in this place is the Visual Studio Online. So let's say on production, an exception is thrown because you cannot connect to SQL Server. Just imagine that stack trace it is available for you. Then it can also tell you things is when your application is slow. So what is slow? Now at most, right, last time previously you can tell the development team that okay, when I perform certain function is slow. But can we drill down to source code? So through application insight, you can actually drill down to source code. The exact piece of code that actually causes the bottleneck. So it does instrumentation as well on the source code. So let us move to ALM on the cloud, which is what we are going to cover. Now just now, I briefly explained the different types of activities in ALM. The plan, develop, test, okay, then you go to release, you go to monitor. We work in this cycle. Now, the case is, we want to automate this with the minimum cost. When we talk about minimum cost is, you don't need to buy hardware to maintain. Okay? We try to minimize the maintenance. Okay? So in this case, what is the best option over here? We deploy to the cloud. So the advantages of deploying to the cloud is no infrastructure overhead. You let Microsoft handle that. So whenever there are new version, you don't have to worry about migration. You let Microsoft handle that. You only focus on your development. You fine-tune your development process and so on. Then another advantage is it's available anywhere. Yeah, as long as you have a W3C compliant web browser, you can actually connect to Visual Studio Online. So you also have a connected IDE. Now when we talk about connected IDE here, we are not just talking about Visual Studio, because we also provide an integration with any Eclipse-based IDE so that you can do Java development as well. Then you pay as you use the services. Now some of the services are free, some of the services are not free. So how do you try the free services? I think all of you will have a live ID, right? Something at hotmail.com, not something at gmail.com. So you sign up, you go to visualstudio.com, you sign up. Then you get the free service for 5 users. So with the free service, you can do project management stuff, Okay, you can have your source code repository and so on. But if you want to do more things, testing and so on, then you need to pay a little bit of money. Later on, we will share with you the plan. It's like buying insurance for your company. Okay, let us move to the demo. So for the purpose of the demo, we will actually make use of an app. Okay, the app that we will actually make use, okay, let me close and re-log in. Hang is a very common problem. Okay. Not the cloud services hang, it's my VM hang. Okay, for the purpose of a demo, we will actually make use of an app to simulate, starting from project management all the way up to testing and ready for release. So we have an app here called Tailspin Spyworks. Okay, so what do we sell here? We are selling some products. We are selling some products. We are selling some communication products. We are also selling other things. Okay, let me launch the app one more time. Hang on a short while. Okay, never mind. I show you the Visual Studio version. Okay, so we have an app here, so I can sell certain things. So these are the products that I'm selling. I can also add the products to the cart and so on. So this is the app that I'm going to demo. Now what I have over here is a Visual Studio Online account. While waiting for it to load, let me do an IS reset. So this is what we call it as the project portal. Now the appearance of the portal is different depending on the methodology that we are using. So out of the box we support Scrum. Okay, as a methodology, we support CMMI, we support Agile, which is a combination of Scrum, Kanban, and so on. So this is the project dashboard. Take a look at the URL at the top. Is actually Visual Studio Online. This is Visual Studio Online, so the URL is visualstudio.com. So the front part here, most of the time we use our email, the name, the address as the front part over here. So what do I have here is the members in the project, the member in the project. So as part of my planning, this is what I have done. You know, in Agile, we break the development into different iterations. So for the purpose of demo, I have a few iterations here, which we have configured certain dates. Okay, certain date. So it lets you actually do so. Then we have also configured alerts. Now what does alert here means? Whenever something's happen throughout the development, you want to send out an email. So what are the activities that you might want to track when someone check in a source code? When a new task is assigned to someone, when a new test case is assigned to a test and so on, you create some kind of alerts. So when we talk about alerts, in the Visual Studio Online, we have two types of alerts, the team alerts and your personal alert. This is the team alert. When we talk about team alert here, means the entire team will receive the email. Now when we talk about team, we can also break down into sub-team. Because when we talk about software development, it's not just development team. You have the PMO, you have the testing team, you have the operations team. So this is what we have here. Now other things we have here is known as a service hook. Now, by using service hook, right, what it does? Now, in your when you are developing certain app, there are certain apps that you want to monitor. Okay, you hook your app into the service hook, so that whenever something occurs, you will get notified. Now, one thing you need to take note on Visual Studio Online is whenever you see an asterisk here, it can mean two things. Either you do not have the privilege to access because of the licensing level that you have, or this is in the preview mode. Preview mode here means it's not launched. Now, if you try to take a look at Microsoft release cycle of Visual Studio, now they practice yearly release. So we have Visual Studio 2013 this year, we have Visual Studio 2014, TFS 2014. So whenever they came up with new releases in the either the final release or the preview mode, they will always deploy to the Visual Studio Online first. They let the users to experience it and test it out. So that's what I have here. So let me move to my backlog. This is my product backlog. Now in my product backlog, we have actually created a list of user story. Just imagine now you have some user story which later on I want to hand over to the developer, which is Ming. So when we take a look at the user story over here, you can actually make use of this to do certain planning and so on. Let's say right now I want to assign a task to Ming, because apparently now I cannot remove items from my shopping cart. So what do I do over here is I select the task that I want to assign to Ming. I just need to specify his name. Okay, Ming. Then I click save and close. Because I have enabled a notification, an email will be sent to Ming. So this is the kind of things that you can do. Now when we talk about project tracking and oversight, you cannot depend on this grid form. Because when you have more and more user stories, it's very hard for you to drill up and drill down. So what Microsoft actually provide in Visual Studio Online is you can actually create some tag. You tag a work item. So let's say this is related to shopping cart, you tag it with shopping cart. Then it's a kind of way that you can do grouping and so on. So let me go ahead to click save. Now, at a certain point of time, right, you want to show a pictorial overview of the project health. So most of the time, we make use of you can actually make use of the Kanban board, which is this. Okay. So now I want to assign certain thing to Ming. So it needs to go through certain stages. Now all these stages from active to resolve to close, you can actually configure it. Okay. Let's say before it goes to close, you need to go through a verification step. All these things can be configured. So this is the capacity per iteration. So other than that, right, if we move on to the backlog over here, we can actually do a drill down. This is the drill down part. Okay, different colors here means different things. The blue color here means the user story.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You just mentioned capacity. Can you tell us something more about that?
Capacity management, okay.
Yes, please.
So when we talk about capacity management, right over here, you need to do certain things like, let's say you have certain developers. How much time the developer will spend in a week or in a month for a certain things. So in this case, I will specify the capacity per day is 8 hours. And the activity for this person, okay, which is me, may be on the requirements. So okay, this is how we actually do capacity management. And the days off, we have the norm. We have the days off by person and day off by the team. Let's say it's a public holiday. Let's say a certain day is a public holiday. Let's say 18. Okay, you can actually specify that. So this is the days off. So whenever you make any changes to the capacity by iteration or by sprint, if you are using Scrum, you will see the workload of the specific members over here. We have green color, then we have red color. Green color, okay. Red color means over utilize the person. Okay. So now, right, since I've assigned the task to Ming Man, I will actually pass the development work to Ming Man.
Okay. Let me grab a chair and change the light down to the floor. So, okay. So my boss actually assigned a task to me, right? So I'm a developer, right? So I come in here, right? Don't mind, sit down, right? And okay, when I look at this, what I would do normally, I will go to the board. I'm going to leave this. Okay. Okay. So I scroll down. You see my name. Iteration 1. Okay, never mind. Let me go to work again. Go to the board. Tuck. Let me go and find my items. Let me refresh. Okay. Take a while, okay? So while waiting for this, right? Let me go to Visual Studio. Right, this is not the main topic yet. I will come to this but later. Right? So there are certain way that this is really a hybrid, right? If you are not able to see it here, for example, the just now that, right? It's not coming out for don't know what reason. Okay, so then you can actually come back to here and you can actually click the work item, right? So you actually will show here as well. Okay, so you basically see current iteration. You see it? Right. Let me look at the active task first. Don't have. On. But. Anyway. Let me go back to here. Okay. Let me go to the backlog. Okay, just go to see my item, right? And I scroll here, new, and I'm going to find my name, right? Everything is new.
I think we go to iteration 1 at the top right corner. You'll find the filter for the
Thank you, sir. Right? Okay. So I have iteration 1, right? A bit nervous today, right? So when I double click this guy, then I will see that Ervin actually assigned me something to do, right? So I will say go to active. I will say save it. Okay, so okay. So now once I mark it as active. Okay, so I can go back here, go to here, and I can go to the development task, right? So what he is saying that is that I don't have anything to remove the item, right? The shopping cart in the shopping cart, right? Let me recap it. Okay, so I want to remove, right? So what you can see is that if I run this guy, now, okay, if I go to any category, I add a card. Okay, so I want to delete this item. So I say update. Voila, the item not deleted, right? So to prove that the thing is, we've tried before that, of course, right? And so I go to the code. just now the page I think is this guy, right? So you can see that actually I put in the code, I remark the code as well. So I come in here and I will actually unremark that. Okay. So what I will do is I try again, right? Normally you should build separately instead of just click the Internet Explorer. When you click run, you will actually build. Definitely you will build. Like, you don't ask me a question that you are going to click run, I don't want you to build. The one I can answer you, right? It wouldn't happen, right? So normally when you click run, no matter it's console project, WPF or web, you actually build it for you. So I build separately. So the build is successful, then I actually click Internet Explorer, right? So now you can see. Okay, it's empty. Okay, right. So I should go down to the main page, right? But anyway, so we started with this page is fine. So if I say add to a cart, if I now click a button, if I say update, it works, right? Okay, let's go to try it one more time, right? So some other category, add it to the cart, right? So I go to another category and add it to the cart, right? And I want to delete this item, I delete. Okay, I can pack my thing, go back already, right? Successful that, right? So that's what normally a developer would do. Right? After they finish the job, they forget that everything else, very happy, pack, go pack. Okay, so be a good developer, don't do that, okay? The first thing what have I forgotten? I have not checked in the code. Right? I have not checked in the code. Okay, so I have to check in the code. Okay, so when I come to here, I go to Team Explorer, right? And click this house here. Then I will see I have pending changes. So I must click the pending changes here. So I have a CS file here, right? So now I will say that boss added code to remove item. Okay, so it's a bit small, right? So okay, so now I can check in. I will say yes, right? If you have used TFS, right, you realize the experience is exactly the same, right? So you were saying that are you cheating me, you know, whether this thing is in the cloud or this thing is actually running in the premise, right? So you can actually click this socket to 2 pin only, right? 2 pin socket plug, right? And you can actually say select team project. Okay, so you can see that actually we are in the cloud, right? So you click server here, this is server is actually in the cloud, right? So you can say that okay, HTTP blah 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 blah. This is actually you can access anywhere in the cloud. Okay. So if I go to everywhere also, I can just get the code. I don't have to worry that I don't have a VPN to go back to reach my company network. But the only question is that whether you have a team called information security, there's always a battle going on between your information security team and your team, right? The developer team, and whether this is so-called secure or P&C, right? You always heard the word. When people lazy to do the thing, they say P&C, right? So they don't have to do it, right? So you have to do it in your own way, right? The old way that you are doing it. So all this is not Microsoft issue, right? This you have to resolve with your internal organization, right? This is a human issue. Okay, now I have checked in this, right? So it's the same thing as well. If I go back to here, okay, I probably want to go into Let me go to my Hotmail and let me just log in to my Hotmail. Okay, so you can see that just now I check in, right? Just check in, right? And it's what time? 11:48. Okay, he will receive an email as well. So I can actually click on my Hotmail. I saw Ali sent me something in Facebook. So it's a real email, right? Probably just Facebook and tag me somewhere. Okay, so I can see that this is the file that I checked in, right? Just now? Let me make it bigger for you to see, right? If your eye is not as good as see? Now it's big, right? But I don't have a scroll. No? I don't have the real scroll. It's a disaster to me, right? So I still don't have a scroll, right? So okay, let me smaller slightly. Okay, so you can see that that is the file that I check in, right? And you can see actually, let me go back to 100 and 100. You can see that actually I have a lot of notification from this morning 7 something. I'm actually preparing the demo for you guys in the Starbucks in next building. Okay, so that is what you want, right? So your developer check in at the moment, you know that your developer is checking something. If you are one of the developer lead or you are the manager, right? The developer will say that, boss, I checked in already, right? And actually they didn't check in. Or you might say that, excuse me, are you sure you checked in? I didn't see what is in the TFS, right? Straight away you will know, right? So that is the thing, right? So this is for the code. Another thing that your developer like to tell you, right? Boss, actually it works on my local, but it never works when I check in. How many of you heard a developer saying that? Yes, right? Boss is working on my local machine. Okay, so last time you have something called build, right? Okay, and when you want to have a build, you need to install what? TFS, right? You have a build agent, correct enough? Okay, now, if you are rich enough, or you have an MSDM subscription, right? There are certain hours free. This is why I can do that for you. I have certain amount of time free. The only thing is that you want to do like me is that don't put in your credit card number, right? So once the time overshoot, you will not be penalized, right? You won't see your Maybank statement come out. Microsoft charging me, Right? So don't put in your credit card. As long as you don't put in your credit card, it's fine. Unless they can hack from my phone to my credit card, then I have nothing to say. Then I will still receive the bill, right? So what you will do is that I created a build. You can see I created a build sometime last night. Okay, now I just want to create a new one for you to see, right? You don't have to. It's exactly the same experience, but this thing is the cloud will build it for me. Actually, I'll do one for you to see. Okay, now if I say new build definition, right? I have the build here, right? Let me just make this one smaller, right? Now I want to name it called demo. This one is a demo. You can see everything is the same, right? I will not want to put CI. CI meaning that every time I check in, you will build. But for you definitely want to do that. So every time when your developer check in, pass or fail, you know straight away, right? So you can walk through the fella and saying that your work will work locally is not good enough, and you're going to fail everybody, right? The whole bunch of developer. Okay, so I put menu. Right. Okay, now, and the most important thing you will ask is that, then where is my build controller? What is am I going to put? Okay, the moment I don't have a Zoom meet running, right? So hopefully you can see your eye is still strong enough, stronger than me. Okay, the moment you connect to the cloud, Visual Studio Online, right? When your Visual Studio detected there's a cloud version, you will have a build controller called constant build controller. Automatically will appear, right? So you can use this guy, right? You can use this guy to actually build, right? So okay, so now I think everything is right. Another question you might want to ask. What is another question that you might want to ask? Right? You remember that they used to have a drop location, right? So where is this guy going to drop? The cloud cannot drop back to my own server, right? Very interesting, right? So I was saying that copy a build output to the server. Later on you will see where is it though. Okay, I have checked in the code just now. I have not built from the server, right? Let me just save this guy. I'm going to save this. Okay, I've checked in the newest code just now. Remove before I go to my boss and declare success. I will try to run this build. If this build failed, then too bad. So I might not be able to go back. Okay, so I have see this one is what I just created. Okay, the demo. It's exactly the same like what you are doing. You query a new build. Okay, when you query a new build, right? I would say hi. I don't know whether that will charge me extra or not, but it doesn't matter. Do it for you guys, right? I'm not going to do it every day. So I will say queue, right? Again, you see the icon is queuing, right? And again, you double click, you're going to see this guy is going to inside the queue. Again, when you double click this guy, you see exactly the same way that it's like your on-premise. But you just do everything the same, but without a server installed in your on-premise, right? So that is a good part of it, right? So it will take a while, right, to build. Okay, and this morning in Starbucks I took around 1 minute, right? But they are already saying that it's going to take you from I think they are going to take they are telling you that they are going to take you around 5 minutes maximum, right? So if you trust the guy, then it will be 5 minutes. You see, everything is open now, right? You have a drop down, also you have a lot of things open. Okay, there's one feature that since 2010 of Visual Studio that I like is that you can actually close everything and open again, right? So this is what you don't have, right, in the past. Okay, so now I can open this guy, right? And I'll see what is in my queue. This one is in my queue, right? So I double click again. So
It
build.
takes about 2 to 3 minutes. About 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, about 3 minutes.
You have done used it before.
We use it regularly.
You use it, okay, okay. So you take a while, right? So I don't know if we have another expert around here.
No, it's better.
Right. So that's the thing that you're going to see. So we will wait for a while. Then I'll tell you where to take the file they drop. Okay, take the file they drop. So I will go to here.
So when we check in and you put in some comments, yeah.
Right.
I saw, but there was like associate a task ID or something
Okay.
like that.
Good one.
Can you please tell us something about that?
Okay, good one. Okay, okay. So just now, when I look at my item, right, I have number 8, right? User story number 8. So when you want to check in your code, good question. When you want to check in your code, for example, now I just want to do something like I put in extra. Okay, the build it seems okay in progress. Okay, just now my card is my shopping cart, right? Praying for that. Okay, so my shopping cart is the SBX. So I right click and I say view code, right? And for example, I want to say completed. Oops. Okay, so I want to say, okay, so I'm still running. So I can come up to, I can just stop this guy, right? And I will say completed on 15 August 2014. Okay. Now let me check in this again. Right. So I go to here, go to pending changes. You will show you that now this guy actually put some remark in. Okay, now the question is, okay, put in remark. Okay, put in remark. Okay. The question from our gentleman here is that, what is this? Okay, this one you can actually type into the number, right? Type the number. So I know that my code is related to this task, right? So I can actually now I can actually check in, or you can actually want to add another task because your code might be related to the few tasks, right? So I just put add, and then related to add. Like going to check in, right?
You need to click add.
Yes. Add work item by ID. Yeah, you have to click that, then you pop up.
And I think you need to click this add button as well.
I normally don't do it. Okay. You might need to click the add, but normally I don't. Probably I didn't.
Already, okay.
Probably I miss. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So then I will check in this guy, right, and say yes. Okay, I want to say yes. I want to save all these changes. Okay, check in already, right? Okay, so how do you track this thing back? You can either go to the change set in. Let's go to the. Okay, let's go to your code, right? Whatever that I check in, it should appear here, right? You should see a change set here, right? You can go to the change set, right? You can see my change set number is 109. Right, so if you go to your Visual Studio Online, you should see your change set number 109 as well. See 109, right? Put in remark. So you open this guy, right? So you know that it's related to this, and this is the changes that I've changed, right? I've added in this. This is how you track, right? So you can actually see online, right? So by now I should be completed my build, hopefully. It's green color, right? It's green color, right? In red in color, then too bad, right? I have to brand Microsoft, right? So I don't have to brand Microsoft because it's green color, right? So you click my view, I will see 2 success, and I've struggled for the first 3, right? The first, you can see that why is actually the error. An error is because of I don't have a DLL. So how do you get a DLL? There's a trick. You have to put in the NuGet package. Put in the NuGet package, okay? If you put in the local pointing to local DLL, good luck. You actually fail forever. Okay? Okay, so let me do the last thing. I know my boss is waiting. So let me declare success. I go to the build here, right? So I can see the build here, right? So if I double click the build, you can see I can download the thing, right? You actually drop in here. So if you download, then you will get that version after the build. Okay. Okay. I think I'm pretty much. Let me go back to my boss. Okay, boss, I'm done.
Okay. Thanks. So since he has done his development job, so what do we do next? He has done a round of functional testing. Of course, you need to deploy it to somewhere. Then you ask your QA or your specific tester to test it.
And my boss doesn't believe me. I said done is you want to test. Let him test.
When we talk about testing, okay, we talk about functional testing. We don't talk about the the unit tests and so on. So when we talk about functional testing, we have a tool here that we can help you to do the testing, the Microsoft Test Manager. Okay, this is a client tool. Let's say I do not want to use this tool. I want to use my web browser for testing. Let me close his mailbox. So I want to use that for testing. So what do I do here is I go back to my Visual Studio Online. Now what I'm going to show you here is testing by purely using the web browser. Now most of the time, if you are a tester doing functional testing, usually why you choose to become a tester, from what we see, these people do not like to write code, but it likes to comment other people work. So if you ask them to install Visual Studio, the name of the tool here, this is Visual Studio Test Manager. When they hear the word Visual Studio development. So what Microsoft has done is they let you actually create a test plan on cloud. Okay, how it works here, right? You need to have a test plan. Okay, you link the test plan to your requirement, because when you test, you are testing the requirement. Now, then you link your requirement to one or more test cases. Sometimes you need more test cases to complete the testing and exercise of certain requirement. So what I have here is I have a test plan called iteration 1. Okay, this is my requirement. This is requirement number 8. So later on, what I'm going to show you here is how do you actually create more test cases that is actually linked to a test plan. Now, is that all you need to do? No. Because when you are doing testing, you need to have test configuration. Okay, what are the possible types of test configuration? If you are developing an ASP.NET web application, right? You need to verify that it works on certain browser. All the different browsers are different configuration. You actually need to put it as part of the test plan. So this is what I have here in the test plan. I structure my test plan by iteration, and from iteration I link to my requirement, which is my user story over here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add a new test case. So what I've actually assigned to Ming is to develop the shopping cart functionality. One of the functionality, the user must be able to remove the item from the shopping cart. So what I have in my typical test plan here is I have the test that I want to exercise, then followed by my test step right here. Okay, let's say I'm very lazy to type all this thing. I move on to the client-based tool to show you. Then I will run the test using the web browser, because the client-based tool I can do cut and paste faster. So I'm going to say that these are the things that I want to test, and these are my test steps. Okay, these are my test steps. Now, so what I have here over here is these are the test steps that I will exercise later on to test my app. But all this information actually resides on the Visual Studio Online. Now, when you test something, you need to have a basis for testing. So what is your basis for testing? Your user story. You are testing a certain user story over here. Now sometimes when you are doing testing, you want to link attachment, okay, the scenario that you want to test and so on, and you want to automate this test through the associated automation here. So let's say what I want to do is a very simple functional testing to verify that the function that we ask Ming to do, it actually works. It actually works. So I'm going to go ahead to create this test case using the tool. Then I'm going to move back to my over here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to refresh it. Then immediately, right, you will see that a test case is being created over here. Now, you can actually link a lot of test cases to a specific user story. Okay, let me run the query to link it up. So let's say I want to link it up this one at test case. Now, the next thing is to decide how many test cases to exercise a complete coverage. Depends on you, how you structure the test and so on. So this is what I have in my test, and the configuration that I'm using over here is Windows 8. Okay, so let me double click on this test over here. Now, a test goes through a certain stage. You go through test design, then test execution. Now, when the test is in the design stage, that means I'm doing a test design. I cannot exercise this test yet. So let's say after I review this test procedure, it is ready for execution. So I will change to ready. So in this case, you can still specify which tester you want to assign the task to. Okay. Let's say I just want to assign this task to me myself. So I just click save and close. So the next thing is, how do we exercise this test? Now what I'm using here is just a web browser over here. So there's a little drop down here. Then do you see this option here? When I click run test, what's the difference? What's the difference between run test and run test using client? Run test, you are actually running the test in the context of the web browser. Now when you run the test using the test client, you are actually using this tool over here to actually run your test. Now, what are the differences? When you select run test, okay, make it smaller. So what I see over here are all the test steps. Now, what I need you to take a look over here is whenever you run a certain test, if it fails, certain condition is failed, you can actually file a bug. You can directly file a bug from here. Notice that there's a grammar mistake and you don't create bug. You file a bug. Okay, then I have a plus sign over here where I can add additional information, my command and so on. Let's say now I just want to run my test. So what do I do over here? I go through all the steps over here. It asks me to launch a web browser. So let's hope my app is working now. Else I need to launch directly from my Visual Studio. Let's say this is the app that we have actually deployed. Then I run directly from Visual Studio. Ningman, you have checked in your code, right?
Yes, boss, I did.
So let us run from here. So this is a typical manual testing. Manual testing. It says, okay, I need you to open up your web browser, browse to this site. Okay, if it works, then you mark. You go through a certain procedure. Okay, I need you to click on this link. You verify it as a tester. If it works, you mark as pass. Then I need you to click on certain links. Okay, it also works. Okay, then you mark it as pass. So that is a typical manual test. So now I need to test add to the card functionality, which is right at the bottom over here. So okay, I'm able to add to the card. I can see a value over here. So let us now test the remove item, which is the functionality that we have assigned to Mingman. Okay, now let us see, after we click update on the shopping cart, it is really empty. Okay, shopping cart is empty. Great. So this is the condition that we should verify, the expected result. Now at this point of time, right, you can also add a command if you want to. Looks okay. A command. Then I can say that I want to close the browser and mark it as pass. Then we save this as a pass case. Now what is the differences, right, of running a test over here and running a test using the tool? They are indeed differences. If you use a tool to run this test on a test case that you have created on Visual Studio Online, the cloud, the tool can activate something known as a recording. It can actually translate the recording to a .NET code. So either VB.NET or either C#, then you can do test automation. Okay. So I have actually run a test. So this looks good and so on. So I can actually proceed to add another test case if I want to testing the invalid data in the shopping cart. Let us further explore the kind of options that you can configure as part of my test plan over here. Let me go to the parameters over here. So at the parameters over here, you can add multiple parameters that you want to pump into your test. Now, if you want to add other things like the test configuration, then we go back to the tool over here. We talk about the properties of the test. Now, when the properties of the test is being shown, it actually shows you two types of tests. We are talking about functional testing. Okay, functional UI testing. We have two types of tests that we can configure it, the manual test and the automated test. Now, how this works. Each of the tests, you have a test settings. The test settings will determine the environment you want to run the test. Let's say now, where do I run my test on? On an app that is on the VM, which is on the cloud. Now, what if the app is being deployed to a staging server or a UAT server? I want my tool to directly connect to the app on that server. Okay, then you need to specify a certain test condition. Now, the advantages of letting the tool to directly connect to the staging server is you can collect performance diagnostic data, instrumentation, you can do IntelliTrace. If something goes wrong, you want to do debugging and so on. So let us take a look at the test configuration over here. We can actually go ahead to click manage. So this is what I mentioned just now. You can create multiple environments to run your test. Now, in a typical development of a piece of software, usually the environment that you want to deploy is not a simple environment. It's a very complex, most likely it's a multi-tier environment. So by using this tool, you can actually duplicate this type of environment. So this is part of a certain thing called the Visual Studio Lab Management. So if I were to set up an environment over here, you can see multiple different environments. Okay? So this requires the Visual Studio Lab Management and the SCVMM. Okay? So let me go back to my testing center here, which I have the manual test and I have the automated test. Then this is my test configuration. I can have a lot of test configuration. So what does this test configuration here means? When I'm running this test, I should run on Windows 8. So that form a set of test configuration. So different tests. Okay. Now when you have this type of different test configuration, do you still do manual tests? It's very hard. Because you are testing your browser, this is where automation comes in. So let's say all the testing works and so on. Okay, now the app is ready to deploy to production. Okay. Now, what are the tools that we have in Hybrid ALM that can help you to automate that to the deployment to production? We have the Visual Studio Release Management. The Visual Studio Release Management is a complete end-to-end release management tool where you can configure the tool to go through certain approval level. So before I can deploy to staging, I need someone to approve it. Then we deploy to staging from UAT, maybe UAT to production. That we call it as the deployment pipeline. So this is where, okay, for the purpose of this demo, I will just stop at here. But of course, after this functional test, there are more things that we need to do. The deployment, then a round of load tests and so on. So what I will do is, I will pass back to Ming. Okay.
Okay. I have no more demo, no worry. Let me just go back to this. Right. And okay. I know what is the thought now, right? Lunch. Okay, but before that, just want to seek your opinion, right? So any feedback, what do you think about Visual Studio Online, right, versus the Visual Studio that you have now? Yeah.
One question on your load testing portion.
Okay.
So I know that you are saying that you will load from different areas, but what about a specific page or a specific function within the application? populate on one page, for example, offer a promo page, how can we test that using Visual Studio?
You have to record the page first. Normally, then you record a page first, right? So when you create a load test, right, you can actually simulate how many concurrent person you have, right? So you can put different location and different number, right? So you can also put how many time you travel that page.
Actually, how it works, right? When I know what you are saying is maybe you have a page with a lot of AJAX call, right? You want to call those AJAX call, right? So in this case, right, how the load test works, right? Before you can actually proceed with load test, we have a recorder. So you need to record down the type of actions that you need to perform. Now these actions, right, when the load test is being triggered, it is actually triggering at the protocol level. So issuing HTTP or HTTPS request. So in this case, it doesn't really care what type of app you are doing. It's trying to simulate the HTTP request. So actually, that is how it works.
And it does support asynchronous calls and that sort of thing.
Yeah. But usually this type of call, you need to specify think time. Because how the load test works, right, if you don't specify a think time, let's say you have 4 HTTP requests, it will hit one after another.
Yes.
By right, in a typical app, right, there should be a think time. You perform certain transaction, the user will pause for a short while, do something. The think time is important.
I was wondering if I can ask a question about the demo. After you did the changes and tested, you need to deploy it in the actual website, right? It's already in the test environment, right? And now you need to deploy it. Can you show us how you deploy to the actual website? Deploy the changes that was made.
That we actually need a tool called the release management tool, which it goes through another type of setup. So we can have this as a separate session.
You can do it in the hardware like last time when they don't have the tools. You can put it, you can customize your own build. But that is not that simple, right? You have to open through the workflow from the build template.
Are you deploying a web application?
Yes.
Then as part of a build, you can invoke MS deploy.
Because I want to only deploy the changes in the repository. So the
Delta changes, right?
Sorry?
Only the delta changes
Yes.
what you have changed, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, the release management and build will deploy the whole thing, not the delta changes.
Okay, well, you just discussed earlier on about the security of related to different developers in a team and their access to the code. I mean, can we define access rules and policies in terms of different pieces of codes or files? Let's say that which developers or which teams can access a certain part of the whole solution, and this part of solution is strictly off limit to a certain team.
There are roles inside the TFS.
Yes.
But go down to, I don't think you go down to the level of which file
Okay.
you can actually access.
Yeah.
It can go to the file level.
I just
You
need
go to
your
the file
expert
level.
advice on what we
But
do
the
think
problem
about
is
it.
when you open up the solution, you still need to load the file.
Yeah.
So we cannot find the file. But at the source control level, it can go up to the file level. Problem is the file inside is part of the project.
Yes. So what currently we do is we basically specify access rules depending on the projects that, okay, this project is for a specific team and this project is for team B or that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we can't do that on directory level in it.
Directory level security, because source control security, you can put it at the directory level depending on what. Let's say from this directory, you cannot check in.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. Or you can even cloak the directory if you do not want other team to see the directory.
Okay, yeah.
It's a feature in source control, it's called cloak.
Okay, sure, thanks.
So that's your thought, huh?
It's a
Next.
question and thought, yeah. Okay.
I know some of you will be going for prayers. We are. This is the last slide.
Yeah.
Then we show you the plan. If you are interested to subscribe to this, the paid plan and the free plan. But don't come and look for us because we are not selling the plan. You know, from Microsoft.
Yeah. So this is a plan, right? You have a different edition. Oops. Let me check it out. Okay. So you have a different edition from the free one to the paid one, right? So the free one, you can't do a lot of app inside. I don't think it's there, right? And view actually you can use like what I did, but it's actually not free, right? They will actually once you hit the hour, they will actually stop you from doing that.
60 minutes.
Right? Yeah. So you can actually, I think it's better that if you already require the link, we will give it to you. Okay. So there is a feature here that you can compare, but I don't see the mouse. Okay. Okay.
At the top.
Yep. Let me. Okay. So this is other feature that you can actually compare, right? Okay. So you have online, advanced, professional, and actually basic, right? So they are actually come with the price of different edition, right? The price again, you have to go back to whoever representative that Microsoft is. So what is your? Are you using the basic?
Yeah, we're using Ultimate. We've got MSc and Ultimate, so yeah, we've got pretty much everything covered.
Right. But do you pay extra? Or?
Yeah, I'll let my CFO worry about that. But we recently switched to manual builds because with continuous integration, my developers kind of like go crazy for checking in and we accumulated build hours like
Okay, rolling builds.
Exactly. So it was a very strong email coming to me from CFO. Come on, what's happening? This is just an extra cost. So I was like, we have to switch back to manual builds. Yeah, but kind of automatic integration is kind of cool. But you've got a lot of developers checking in small bits and pieces because we've got developers in different countries. We handled it like that.
Because sometimes they have to show they're working.
Exactly. And
I know.
This was our policy, and it was like small checking in coming in, but it cost you the whole build. Build 5 minutes or 3 minutes. Especially when the solution goes big, it goes full 5 minutes. Then we kind of like, okay, it's checking out end of the day when you go home. Check in.
Right.
That's it. You don't have to check in everything they change. Yes.
There's a policy that you're set to.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of really user friendly, and it helps us manage our team. Even offshore developers. Yeah. Very well.
Yeah.
For us, it's a little bit different. Developers cannot check in a work that they have yet to complete.
Okay.
So what do we enforce is we ask the developer to shelf the code.
Okay, yes. They do a lot of shelving, but still we want, because in our scenario, it's not in-house development team. Okay, so some of them are in London, some of them are in India, in Ukraine, and that sort of thing. So end of the day, check in, should be okay for us, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
But shelving is a good option, yes.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, any other thought?
I think they are hungry.
Okay, if not, then I think I'll wrap it up. Right, thanks for coming. I think you can actually proceed to your lunch. Right. Thank you.